let's go ahead and get this meeting started. I feel like I'm sitting down. Let's start with the preferential primary reimbursement.
So,
is that what this is?
yes, that's the one for you to sign.
Oh, okay,
There's
gotcha.
a copy of it in your agenda packet.
Okay.
And
So
that
you're all
just shows
finished.
all the reimbursements.
Okay.
We asked for $118,000 in 2018, so this is significantly up
Yeah,
from 2018.
but the number of voters are up, right?
The number of voters are up, and so yes, and so basically,
Here's Mac.
oh,
You want to get that?
Okay, he's going up and come through security.
let me see
What?
if Doc will let him in.
Okay.
Doc, is it okay if I let him in, Lisa? He signed his form. Yeah. Okay.
Here it comes. Okay, good. Well, we'll postpone until he shows up. There we go. Turn by.
Thanks.
Hey, my friend,
Good
how you
morning.
doing?
I'm well.
Where's your satchel?
Oh, some things don't change, the car still doesn't work. Right?
Oh, my goodness.
That's all right.
You are personally persecuted, aren't you?
You don't even know it.
Well, welcome. We're glad to see you in person.
Glad to see you guys. How's everybody doing? Good?
We're doing well.
Good. How you doing, Tom?
And this is Lisa Tolan
Lisa,
from
nice
IT.
to meet you. Thank you for helping us today.
Not a problem.
Appreciate it.
Okay, well, we will continue. We're looking at, you got your packet there,
I do.
and you can sign this on the way out.
Oh, yeah, perfect. I'll do that.
We're starting on the reimbursement.
Got it. Perfect.
Okay, Jennifer, continue.
Okay, so basically what I need the signatures from the Election Commission for the front page, which breaks down how much we spent in each of the different categories. And then I submit this giant packet to the state board with all the receipts and everything backing up all of the
gotcha.
different requests.
Okay.
The one thing they did not pay us for this time, when we had our Board of Election Commission meeting back with the state board, and they said they would reimburse us for our cost of programming
Right.
for that licensing fee, they have gone back on that and are not reimbursing us for that licensing fee, or a portion of that licensing fee. They said that the amount of requests exceeded what they had originally budgeted based on other factors.
So we're gonna have to eat that then.
We're gonna have to, yes. So I was not able to ask for, even though there's a line there that shows programming costs, that's really, for LNA and ballot stock and different things like that, but the actual licensing fee, they were not able to reimburse us for a percentage of that.
Remind me of that? What was that?
We have to pay each year a $20,000 licensing fee.
Yeah, but
And-
that's how much it is, 20,000?
And originally, they were gonna reimburse us, I think, up to $7,000 of that
Right.
licensing fee. Because if ES&S did our ballots, we would be paying $15,000 for the election, and they would have to reimburse us for that. But they were not able to do that for us this year, but it is something we need to continue to ask for, that the state reimburse us for.
Did that come from Leslie, that she's the one that
Daniel,
set? Oh, it was
Daniel.
Daniel.
This is the
Okay.
state board. The state board handles
Oh,
this
gotcha.
side.
Okay.
It is strange who handles what.
Yeah.
The state board handles this side of it.
Okay.
And so that will be something that when budgeting comes up in 2021,
We'll have to.
we need to make sure that they include that in
Right.
budgeting for 2022 to reimburse those counties for a portion of their licensing fee. So just something for us to keep track of.
But we won't have a voice in that to them, but we can verify that they have budgeted, is what you're
We
saying.
can, so they have to present a budget just like every other every other entity.
Right.
And when they present their budget, we need to ask, hey, can you include this in when you're projecting cost for the primary in the 2022?
Will you, go ahead.
Sorry, that's not an automatic thing with them?
So they do budget for a certain amount, but this was not included in that amount that they budgeted for. So we need to ask that they include that percentage of licensing fee for our county.
Well, whatever it takes, formal follow-up letter.
Right,
you
right.
know.
You wanna write them once a month and say,
There
can
you
you,
go. I
you
like
know,
that.
I think you just do it as, this is what we would like for you to do, and follow up on it every month.
Yeah.
We're following up to make sure you remember.
Well, I can understand, the negligence there because of the transition that
Right.
they've gone through in the last
Yeah.
18 months, you know, these shoes down there a bunch,
Right.
Yep.
musical chairs, so, but there's really no excuse for missing it in a budgeting process.
Yeah, especially if we
That's too much.
start tooting that horn ahead of time.
Afford that.
Right? And it's a matter of fairness.
Right.
I
Yes.
mean, we should be, you know, paid
Absolutely.
as a matter of fairness, because they're not incurring other costs.
Exactly.
But that'll be fine. We'll make it work, huh?
Yeah, oh, yeah, we've always paid for it. We had just hoped that they eventually would start paying a percentage of it.
Right.
They had mentioned that they were
That they
going
would.
to, and then, they were not able to,
Yeah.
so.
Well,
Okay.
if we can keep on them for doing it next time,
No.
hopefully that'll work.
No.
Okay,
So
so,
I will need your signatures on, yes, so I will collect that when we are finished then, and I will submit that.
okay. Any other questions on that particular item?
So you went back to determine these numbers based on 16?
No, these are the actual bills for the primary.
Okay.
So it's based on, now, I pulled all the poll worker pay, all of early vote pay. Now, they will only reimburse us for $10 an hour, but we pay our poll workers
yeah.
$11.30, so the county absorbs $1.30.
Mhm.
They will only pay up to 14 hours working election day. They only pay for 2 hours of training, where we offered 5 hours of training to our poll workers. So there's some costs that the county still incurs, because the state won't reimburse us fully for some of those things.
So what you're saying is that this request for 154 will not be totally funded on their reimbursement?
No, that's what they should pay to us.
Okay, so these are the real numbers?
These are the real numbers. But now the county still incurred some costs, like the $1.30
Yeah.
difference in pay for the
Mhm.
poll workers,
Mhm.
the 2 hours of extra training we provide our poll workers, and just different things like that. And they don't reimburse for our staff.
These are true
Oh.
reimbursable numbers?
Yes.
As far as we're concerned at this point?
Yes, and then I have all the documentation, like all the receipts and
Mhm.
everything to go with it to show.
Okay, any further questions? Okay, let's go on to item number 2, the CARES Act grant.
So this, initially came to the county clerk's office, and across the state, they sent this to each county clerk, to basically figure out how to, spend the money that the federal government gave the state for this grant. And they are wanting to know what items we would like, what we have on hand, what we're anticipating our needs for the, general election.
Is it your understanding this money has already been dispersed to the states?
I don't know for
Okay,
sure.
that's what I wondered.
I suspect some of it must have been, because they have already purchased 3 450s
Oh, right.
from some funds, and one of those we will receive.
Who else is getting one? Pulaski County?
Pulaski and Benton, all
Oh,
of the big
Benton.
counties.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, all the big counties will get one. So basically, even though Becky received it, most of it actually has to do with our office, so she just forwarded it to me to fill out. Right now, I've put that there would be no changes in our early vote or election day, because right now, we don't know for sure. And so,
We should start talking about that, thinking about that.
yes, but trying to set up funding, and we should anticipate, hopefully, we keep most of our sites open. And then it asks for our priority list.
Oh, yeah.
What supplies, and we just had to number which supplies that we needed, and I marked absentee ballot costs, Stylus, shields, for our poll areas, mask and gloves were the items that I felt like we would need, to the state provide for us. So, and I'm gonna kind of dovetail into our meeting yesterday with the clerks and the coordinators, because this all goes with that. That was our main question is the state going to just purchase everything in bulk, distribute it to each county as they see we need it, or can we write a wish list and say, I need 50 guards, I need, 2,000 face shields, I need, all of this, and then the state purchase that for us or reimburse us for it. So we don't know the answer to that. I did speak to the coordinator in Craighead County, because they have an August election coming up. She basically submitted a bill to the state for $20,000 saying, here are the items I need, and can you, reimburse us or purchase these items for us?
Has she gotten a response?
No, she's not gotten a response. That was her approach on how she was approaching it for the August election. So as we were discussing this, and the other part of the equation is then each county is pitted against the other counties to purchase the materials. So if Washington County is trying to purchase 5,000 face masks, Benton County is too, and Pulaski County, and so we're all trying to bid against one another.
For the same amount of finite resources.
Exactly. The other thing that's hard to find is the little alcohol wipes. If you go on Uline right now, if you were not an existing customer, you can't get them. So we actually, I think, need the state to purchase the items for us in bulk, but we need to tell the state how much we need, and each county does the same thing. So from our conversation yesterday with the other clerks and the coordinators, we got the Secretary of State to do a Zoom meeting with us next Wednesday, with the Secretary of State, Daniel at the State Board, and then Leslie. So we're going to talk to the Secretary of State about how they're planning on using the funding money and what's the best approach for each county to receive the funding or to receive goods. Because I don't know that we necessarily want them to reimburse us for a check. Then we're on our own to try and source all of these different materials.
Well, plus
which we might be able to, but
they
we might
even
not.
say that none of this is guaranteed at this point. It is still contingent upon, I don't know, how many requests they get and so forth. So we're, kind of over a barrel.
Yeah.
To me, it's Washington County, Jennifer and the staff really has been the leader in the state on so many things election related.
Yeah, good.
I feel like it's incumbent upon us to put together what we need, a list of things that we need, whether the state's paying for it or we've got to figure out another funding mechanism for it, figure out what we need. And frankly, that may help the state because they know we do such a good job with elections, kind of extrapolate to other counties and what other counties might need and what, other equipment and supplies, other counties who don't have the resources that we do and don't have the time and, you know, we're so fortunate to have a full-time executive director
Right.
here to help us do things. A lot of the counties aren't in the same boat, right? And,
Mhm.
to the degree we can, you know, figure out exactly what we're gonna need, and then tell the state that, and that assists the state maybe with realizing, hey, all the counties are gonna need the same stuff based on the number of folks and voters. I don't know, I feel like we could be a part of that process and make sure that we get the equipment we need. Because at the end of the day, we can only control Washington County, and,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
to me, that's our biggest concern, right? Making sure that we operate the 2020 election in a safe, effective, and efficient manner, right?
Well, and that was one of the things, we talked about with so it was Sebastian, Benton, and Crawford County yesterday
Oh,
on
okay.
the Zoom meeting. And basically, that was one of the things they want us to put together a list of the items and prioritize which items are the most needed.
Okay.
And kind of us, just like we did for the voting equipment, as a collective
right.
group, the 4 of our counties say, hey, this is what we're needing. Carroll County called me yesterday too, they want to be a part of it. I think it'll be kind of like our little collective group
Yeah.
that we did for the voting equipment. But basically, that's what I said in the meeting yesterday. When the state tried to distribute voting equipment for us, they didn't ask our input on what we
Right.
needed. We need to be saying, I want this amount of this, I want this amount of that, and actually give them numbers.
Yeah.
And not just say, I would like face masks, because who knows
Exactly,
what
yes.
number we may get.
Yes,
Analogy,
Yeah.
an apt analogy,
it really is.
yeah.
So, that's the goal of our conversation with the Secretary of State on Wednesday,
Good.
is to say how we would like to see the funds distributed, you know, rather than sitting back and waiting for the state to kind of say, okay, here's your
Right.
50 face masks, or
Right.
whatever it is
Yeah.
they're gonna give us.
Oh, my goodness. Well, this meeting that you're having with the Secretary of State's office is gonna be before the deadline to, submit what our perceived needs are.
Yes,
So you may have some, additional information and questions based on that meeting.
right, and we may prioritize, although I feel like the 5 things I've prioritized there are really the
Those are
5
the issues,
things
yeah.
that everyone wants to look for.
Yeah.
Because some of the things, like supplemental poll workers and different things like that, that's just not even gonna be possible for the state to provide for us. Cost to add or relocate voting sites, that's not really a cost.
Right.
Communication to voters regarding specific changes. We did talk about that yesterday, and I want to put together videos. And so if the high school comes back, hopefully they will, if not, then we'll figure out our own way to do it. But I want for us to make PSAs.
That's a great idea.
And when you go to the polls on election day, here's gonna be the process, and just start promoting that. But we also need to make them for our poll workers. We almost need to retrain our poll workers.
Wow.
Here's the disinfecting technique we want you to use. Here's how we want you to check the voters in now.
Right.
I mean, there's so much now that's going to be different than what we did for the primary, that we'll need to, we can't really pull all the poll workers in and train them. That's not really a possibility.
But a video
We're gonna
is a
make
great idea.
videos and
Mhm.
start with that process. So, yeah, I mean,
I like
that's
it.
kind of, yeah, I think it'll be super helpful. And so my idea would be, if there's, the high school, they all have video, you know, or video, whatever, technology groups, you know, that make
Right.
TV
YouTube video.
stations and all of that sort of stuff, to kind of
Yeah.
partner with them to do it. If not, I have another resource to do it, but they would be free.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
Well, and they would, I'm guessing, maybe I'm wrong, but they would love the exposure.
It would be a project for them.
Mhm.
That's what, or if the university comes back, it would be a project for the university. That will be my first avenue, to pursue, to see if someone wanted to take up that project for us.
Good.
So,
Well, I think it's a great idea too.
I do too.
agree. I
Yeah.
think it's for both things, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly, maybe at some point you could do a Zoom call or calls with the poll workers too, right? I mean, I don't
Yeah,
know
that's
how
true, yeah.
easy it'll be to set all that up, but,
Ooh,
seems like at this point too, it's, I'm not trying to jump into anything else, figuring out what procedures we're gonna implement,
right,
right?
right.
And what's gonna be different and how we're gonna change things.
Yeah.
Jennifer, just for my clarification, and then on this want list that you're gonna meet about later next week,
Mhm.
are you taking the lead from our perspective and stipulating exactly what we at Washington County need to do this, to take the lead on that?
Yes.
Okay. And then if the other counties want to share in that list or whatever, that's fine, you know.
Right, right.
But yeah, I just wanna make sure that we're on the same page.
Yes, and in fact, they want us to present a united front. This is how the counties want it done.
Yes,
So at least our four, because I know Carroll County wants it too, at least our 5 counties in this region, and I'm sure if I contact Tamitha in Madison County, she'll be on board too, but this is how our counties want to see this done, and they're all in agreement with how we are wanting
Good.
it to
Do
do
you
it.
think it's, and I'm asking the question, do you
Mhm.
think it's, pertinent to contact all of the folks in our northwest Arkansas group of 12 or 10 or 11 counties and just let them know what you're doing?
even if they
Email
can't attend
Mhm.
or be participating in that,
Question.
Well,
Yeah.
we've worked together now for 4 or
Right.
5 years, so
right,
I think that this fits in that category.
I
Yeah.
agree, I think it's a good point, Bill, especially because it kind of gets to the economies of scale that you were saying.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, and
I think it makes sense.
you get more county support for the purpose here.
Yep, I think that's a great point.
I think this is the time when the tail wags the dog.
I think that's a really good point.
Yeah,
Think?
Yeah, I do, actually, I think,
the direct approach is what we need,
yep,
and,
Since since the Secretary's office is asking for that input, let's give them a lot of input.
yeah, and let's not shortchange ourselves, you know, in terms of,
amen.
thinking maybe they only have this much money or.
Don't be shy.
Yeah, exactly, don't be shy, I would say budget, aggressively.
Yeah.
Well,
To make sure that we get the supplies that we need, because we know this stuff is hard to come by, and we know it's not, I mean, you hope certain supply chains catch up, but
Yeah.
there's no guarantee, yeah, you probably know more about this than I do, Jennifer, I'm sure you do, that it's gonna get easier to get this stuff.
Exactly.
Now in November, right?
Well, and that's the thing, because every county in the country
Exactly.
is fighting for the same kind of supplies.
Exactly, I agree.
It's the same thing as early on nationally, when the states were struggling to individually find what they needed.
Right,
Sure is the
right.
same thing,
We're here in the same boat,
Yeah,
county by county across the entire country,
and,
to a large degree.
yep.
Yeah, so the sooner we get it and, making sure we get everything we need.
right.
And we can talk through, are we gonna talk through those things specifically? I mean,
Shall we move on to that, or do you wanna keep going on the meeting that you had?
I think when we talk about these things specifically, because that's
Okay.
pretty much our conversation was, what supplies do we need? What kind of thoughts are we thinking about how we're checking in voters, what, all of that, so it kind of goes into the supplies needed.
Was
And-
your, prioritizing of the, various items, was that pretty much identical with the other
Yeah.
counties?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I think those will be the big things.
I don't know how you
Right.
prioritize them, you need them all.
Yeah, exactly,
I thought the same thing, looking
Yeah.
at the list, Bill. Yeah, you need them all.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, we
Yep.
believe we need them all. Who knows what'll happen in the fall?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree, but I mean, I'd rather have them than.
Absolutely, we need to think worst case here.
And heck, if we got too much of something, that's a great problem, because we'll give it
We
to
can
another
share
county.
it, yeah.
Exactly, that needs it.
Didn't you have some hand sanitizers that you sent up
I had
Benton County
offered
way?
to Kim,
Yeah.
when Kim was doing
In
it,
the
but she
runoff.
she had gotten a hold of different
Oh.
things. But yeah, that's the whole idea is we're all in this together, and
Right.
so
Yep.
we share what we can. And that was pretty much the idea behind our meeting yesterday, was
Good.
for our counties to start talking, especially in this area, because we want to send to the public the same message from each county, because when they watch the news or read the newspaper, it can't be happening different in
Right.
Crawford County than it's happening in Washington County. Like, the voter needs to, like, see a news story and know it's gonna be the same as the
This is not a
polls.
competition.
Exactly, and so they're not having to say, oh, well, Washington County's doing this
Right.
process, but Crawford County's doing this. We ideally want to do the whole,
Exactly.
the process is the same,
Yeah,
Yeah,
so.
good.
good.
Okay, well, let's go on.
So I sent out a poll to my supervisors
Oh.
of like 10 or 15 of my supervisors, especially the ones that work at big sites.
Mhm.
Asked them, what they thought, gave them some of the ideas we've been thinking about, and asked for their opinion, because it's one thing for me to sit here and think about what I need. And I got some really great feedback, especially we have some retired nurses who work with us, and just some feedback from all of them. Masks, they're kind of 50-50 on. Some are like, want masks, some don't. But overall, everyone actually preferred face shields over the mask. If they felt like one or the other, they would prefer the face shield for wearing it all day. It's hard. It's hard if you are not used to wearing a mask to wear the mask for 14 hours.
Now, we're talking about supplies for our poll workers, not for voters.
So, yeah, and I'll
Okay.
come to that too.
Okay.
So they prefer the face shield over the mask, but, you know, they're kind of willing to do whatever we ask them to do, but if they had a preference, they would prefer the face shield.
I mean, on that point, look, we're all figuring some of this out together, right? I'm not a public health expert, I'm an attorney. But my understanding is face masks are effective if you have COVID-19 in not transmitting it to someone else, right?
That's what I understand.
And if everybody wore a face mask all the time, we'd be out of the woods on this thing in no time, just because there's no way to transmit it, right? So I think it's a public health question whether we're going to make the poll workers wear masks all day. All day on election day. And I think, I mean, in my mind, there's no question that they should all wear masks all day. Because if a poll worker has COVID-19, last thing we want is them to transmit it to a member of the public, right? And I don't know face shields. I haven't looked into face shields. I don't know if those are those as effective as a mask with not transmitting it to someone else?
I don't know. I'd have to look and see. I would suspect that they might be. I don't know, but it changes daily. We might hear, like we heard on the news yesterday, that it doesn't linger on surfaces.
I was just going to say that.
Like what we thought it.
Yeah, they're moderating.
On surfaces.
The CDC is moderating some of their presuppositions on that.
I think it's a great point that we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know a ton about it.
No,
right?
we don't.
It's new. I mean, some of this gets, we need some guidance from the state in terms of some of the procedural things. And I think that'll come. I mean, I'm not positive, but I think that'll come based on the way the governor has handled other businesses. I mean, it makes sense to me that he would provide the state health department provide guidance regarding election locations on election day. So some of this may be moot as we move forward. I don't know, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I think it's still worth having this discussion, but hopefully we get some guidance.
We're proceeding in a fog, which may clear up, we hope.
It will, it's just a matter of time.
But in terms of the equipment, we're talking about what we need.
Right,
Right.
At this point.
right. And then gloves, obviously, for handling, the ballots to the voters or different things like that. Although a lot of those poll workers were wary about wearing gloves all day, like,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just, you know, it's hard on your skin.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I think certain poll workers definitely would need to wear gloves, the ones that would hand any voting materials to
Mm-hmm.
the public.
And with the gloves, I mean, you know, gloves are used in an ER when you're working on somebody, and then you dispose of them after the contaminated material, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, wearing the gloves all day, you need to be washing, you know, still
Yes.
using hand sanitizer or something. So, I mean, I feel a little, yeah. I see what you're saying, and I feel like we could work around it.
So I feel like truly the only person that needs to be gloved is the person that we would have handing out the stylus and the ballot.
Okay,
They're
so,
the only one that's touching something that we're handing to the voter.
Mm.
Everyone else, hopefully, the process would be touchless as we go through
okay.
the day.
Are there ways we can modify procedures so that the poll worker places the ballot into the printer for that and then the voter removes it?
Yes, so I should have rolled it down here. I actually have the tablet now set up. I wanted to do a prototype to see what we would need, and this will go into this plexiglass shield and the stylus. So my idea would be that when the voter comes into the polling place, they queue up 6 feet apart. We would make that, and then we would have to set our tablets up 6 feet apart from one another, which will limit the amount of tablets we can have at a polling location, but it also keeps the voters separated. But you have one point of contact for the voter when they come in where they're actually getting something handed to them from the poll worker. So at that point, the poll worker would hand the ballot, the blank ballot, and the stylus to the voter. Then that voter would come to the tablet. We are able to turn that printer facing the voter, and the voter can put their own ballot in the printer.
They insert it, okay.
They would. It doesn't matter when they insert it in the process. It won't hurt anything. It's really easy to tell the voter how to insert it, and we can, you know, do all sorts of different things like that. The one thing the poll workers were all agreed on, they want the plexiglass shield separating them from the voter. And there's an image in here of what one would look like, that would prefer. That's the point of contact where we're the closest to the voter. There's no way around them not being.
I think Harps has this exact one in the store.
I think so too. They would work. The tablet will fit right underneath it. So we can set the tablet up, it turns to the voter. They use the stylus we have given them to sign. Then they have put their ballot in the printer. Then when they leave that area, they go to the ExpressVote line, basically. We don't touch their ballot ever. They put their own ballot in the ExpressVote, use the stylus to mark their selections on the ExpressVote. Then they take their ballot to the DS200 and put it in the DS200. And depending on what we do about the stylus, they either take the stylus with it, where it says I voted on it, and, or if we're having to clean in between, you know, we would have to still have a handful of stylus at the polling location. That would be the process. The voter is we're only handling it once, not multiple times for the voter. But yes, I did set up a printer so that it can do, this will work with it too, because we'll have the printer on the outside of the plexiglass for the voter, and then the tablet swivels underneath that little opening right there for them to sign.
Okay.
That would be an ideal situation of how to set up that check-in process.
I mean, I think it's great thinking. you know, good,
Yeah.
great work, thinking
So-
through each of the pieces at this point.
Yeah.
I think it's a good plan. I mean, optimal, let's make it happen, you know, we've got the
Right.
time, and I think you've thought through each piece, and we can tweak little pieces here and there.
Right, as we go. One of the things I know, Renee, I had thought of this and you had thought of it too.
Oh, right, yeah.
Make these little tattoos, basically for tattoo pins, to put in, but I think they're gonna be too cumbersome.
That's what I was afraid of.
But they're also 4 cents a piece.
Oh, are they that
Mhm.
much?
Yeah.
Whoa.
For what now?
For this little cover for a stylus. But that's why I'm thinking if we can get the stylus at 3 cents a piece,
Mm.
and then we're still better off, because
Right.
this is just an additional cost,
Right,
an additional
yeah.
step for us to
And
take.
awkward.
Right, if we can get the stylus anywhere between 3 and 6 cents a piece, I
Yeah.
think we're better off. We just won't hand out I voted stickers, because that's another point of contact. and-
True.
And we, you know,
You might have them there if they wanna pick one up or something, but that's.
I think we save them and not, I think we want the voters out of the place as quickly as possible. And that's
yep.
just another place a voter would be touching. That's the thing I've been thinking about, is how do we do it so the voter's not touching
Mhm.
everything?
Mhm.
You know, and by having the one poll worker who hands out the ballot and the stylus, ideally then the voter doesn't touch anything else with their hand as they go through the process. So even if we have the I voted stickers out on a table, they're gonna touch the table, and the next person's gonna come behind and touch the
Right.
table. So it creates a situation, and they'll probably complain, because I know they want the I voted stickers. The idea, if the stylus says,
That's what
I
yeah.
voted on
Yeah.
it, that's if they're wanting to take a selfie or whatever they're wanting to do with it,
Oh, there you go.
that would be
Right,
replacing it.
Right.
How
So,
much are those stickers a piece, just out of
a
curiosity?
cent, 1 cent a piece.
Okay, so the stylus is more expensive, but you know,
Yeah.
it takes the place in a way.
And I don't think, it doesn't cost us any extra to get the stylus printed with the I voted. I mean, we're not paying an extra cost
Right.
for that.
I think the stylus is a great idea, but the only concern I have is testing that thing out sufficiently, right? Just to make sure, because I've had styluses before that were,
Oh.
you know, no offense to the stylus, trash. I mean, they didn't work well. It was
Yeah.
hard to use and cumbersome. And I have no idea what these are or how they work, or, I mean, stylus technology's probably improved since I last used one, you know, whenever ago, but,
You have to be careful that the stylus, we have some stylus in our office that won't work on the tablets because they don't have that connectivity.
yep.
And so, we have to make sure that the stylus we do order, and I think Robert got a sample of, I think he asked for a sample of 200,
Oh, good.
the other day, or yesterday.
Yeah.
And so, hopefully we'll have those soon.
Because it's got to work on the tablet and the voting,
So the
electronic.
ExpressVote, you could use a Q-tip on the ExpressVote. We know that works.
Good.
Oh, I didn't know
Q-tips
that.
work on the ExpressVote.
Huh.
A pencil works on the ExpressVote.
Ah.
The ExpressVote's not the problem, it's the tablet.
Got it.
Well, you mean an eraser on the pencil, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
I
we'll
was
use
gonna-
that part, but yeah.
You're not doing that, are you?
No, but, Q-tips work on the
That's
ExpressVote.
interesting.
It's the signing
Got it.
of the tablet that's the issue.
Got it.
Does a Q-tip work in signing your signature?
No.
It does not?
No.
Okay.
There's something about that type of tablet where you have to have a special type of thing where it's connecting you signing it kind of
Okay,
thing. I don't know,
gotcha.
Connectivity, I don't know, there's a
Okay.
term.
Yeah.
There's a term for it. So, but, he asked, about ordering samples, so he asked for like 200 samples, or from,
Great.
so we could
That's a
test.
good test.
Yeah, and see. If we do decide to go with the stylus, ideally it would be nice if the state, the more that's ordered, the cheaper we can get them at. I know Benton County is interested in doing it as well, but if the whole state was interested in doing it, it would be good. We do want to make a decision by the end of June or the middle of June on what we want to do about the Stylus, regardless of what the state does, because, we don't want to air freight them.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
No,
want
no,
to put
no,
them on
no,
a
no.
boat.
Yeah. Well,
It does, yeah.
here's the thing, when you talk with the state, give them some understanding of your methods, because I think that, well, we don't need to have the other counties in the state reinventing the wheel.
Right.
If this is a workable situation, it seems to me that that's one that every county could adopt. I'm not saying they have to, but they could adopt if they knew that you'd already done the testing on it.
Well, and the other counties like the idea, like, one county had thought about providing, like, Mac managed you wore a glove in.
Yep.
One county had thought about
Threw it away.
providing a glove.
yeah,
And then,
yeah.
and a glove will, we tested it yesterday, a glove will allow you to sign the
Okay.
tablet and use the ExpressVote. However, I feel like a glove is harder for an individual to put on, and then you have to run into, is someone allergic to latex?
Yes, yeah.
So there's all different issues with the gloves, but it's the same basically
Right.
it's the same concept of how do we get the voter to not be touching our
Right.
stuff, protecting the voter, and the Stylus would be the thing. And you don't have to throw the Stylus away. The Stylus still, the person could use it when they go to the bank or the ATM. It's, you know, so it's not just something we're throwing away
Right.
after a single use.
I
or
think
the
it's a
voter
great
isn't.
and an innovative idea.
So,
And I agree with Renee too about, you know, telling the state more about our plan. And Jennifer, if you have the time, writing up, you know, a detailed process about, you know, each step in it on election day, and providing that to the state, because we know the state has used some of the materials
They do.
prepared in the past.
Yes.
And provided those, put it on their letterhead, and send it out to other counties.
Yeah, I think
Which is great.
the more we do that, the better it is for every county, and it certainly enhances what we're doing here.
Yep, I agree. And to Bill's point earlier, which I thought was great, reaching out to all the other counties in Northwest Arkansas and giving them that plan at a minimum. And heck, if the state didn't want to go along, maybe we can get 12 other counties to go in and buy
Right.
Styli or Styluses, whichever one.
Yeah, what is
Stylus.
it, Styluses?
I think, I almost,
Styli in the Latin, if it was real.
if it was Latin, but
style.
I'm wondering if it's not one of those words where it's the same singular and plural.
It could
It
be.
is, that's what I think.
It could
That
be.
it's singular or plural. So, yeah, I don't know, but yeah.
Well, and it's an extension of your wish list of supplies and materials. Application is the other half of that.
Yeah.
Yep,
So there's
Yep.
a plan for
you're right.
how to utilize it. I mean,
Yeah.
that's your full plan.
Yeah, and I've started writing it down because one of the things I want to do is to get input from the poll workers on, because we're gonna ask them to do this, so I wanna make sure that it's working, because because of the retraining we'll have to do.
Yeah.
Well, I think you may wanna have that as at least a small portion of your conversation this next week when you're talking about supplies and whatever. I think the application is equally as important.
I think so too, and that was, we had that discussion because both Benton County had a runoff election in the middle of all of this. And so the one thing Kim did the Stylus thing, although she didn't turn the printer around, she didn't think of that. But she did do the Stylus where they cleaned the Stylus after use, but you had a small voter turnout, so it was easy to clean Stylus in between.
Especially if you had an inventory.
Exactly, so yeah, but that was definitely one of the things. And she also said for her election that a health inspector came to each of the polling places to see that they were set up
A Benton
correctly.
County health, wow.
So that was part of what the state provided as assistance, basically.
Okay, here's the official word from dictionary.com, stylee.
Oh.
Although it also has styluses.
Okay.
Well, there you go.
Yeah,
There we go.
interesting. All right. A little aside there. Okay, so are you finished with the supplies needed part, or do you have other?
The plexiglass, I think, is the other thing we really should start looking at, depending on what the state wants to do too. I think that's something that, the poll workers have really requested. And I do think it makes sense for the poll worker checking in the voter and for the supervisor to have one as well.
How many would we have to have at our polling locations? I mean,
So-
we're talking about some
3 would be
significant.
the minimum we
That's
could
what
have.
I'm thinking.
Because if you've got 2 check-ins, and then the supervisor would have to have one, because the supervisor is the other person that will come and contact address change,
Right,
provisional ballot, where they're actually working more with the public on a closer and longer time
Right,
period.
right.
So at the minimum, 3 would be what we would need. We've looked into, can my staff make this cheaper than
Right.
what it is? Because Derek and then, Lacey's husband are both like super handy and have every tool you could ever imagine. The plexiglass is almost impossible to find. We called Mr. Plastic, he's a
really?
local place here.
Wow.
He is completely out. Robert gave me a contact for a supplier in Texas, but I think that's gonna be the
Another thing that everybody's looking for.
everybody is
Yeah.
looking to source. And
Yeah.
by the time we source the material, try to make it, it's probably just as easy for us to just purchase this. Now, I will continue to look for other ones, but I wanted to give you a visual,
Yeah.
of what it would.
I mean,
look
thanks
like.
for including this, you know, this
Yeah.
is helpful to see.
Well, we may wanna go with that concept permanently.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
If we've got them, we ought to use them.
Yeah.
That's a good point. You got them. I mean, to me, you know, stepping back a minute, and sort of my comments on the mask, I think went to this a second ago. We've got 2 groups of people we've got to think about. We've got to think about the poll workers, and we've got to think about voters. And it's a, you know, as the economy is a consumer confidence issue, it's a voter confidence issue to come in there on that hand. And it's, in terms of the employees, poll workers, I mean, it's a safety issue. And if they all want Plexiglass shields, I think it's a no-brainer. Let's do it, if that would make them feel comfortable.
Well, and see, that's one of the things that we are gonna have as a challenge is poll workers, are they gonna feel comfortable to work?
Sure, absolutely. And it's a great point, and I mean, we all know it, I'll say it, you know, most of our poll workers are in a high risk or the highest risk category.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
that's a serious concern that
Yeah.
we've got to consider, and that I think they'll all consider, you know. I mean, Jennifer can speak to it if she's done any informal polling, about poll workers and whether they're gonna come back. But to me, you know, the more we can do and, about getting plexiglass shields, and I think the masks from a voter's perspective, you know, I would feel personally less comfortable going into a voting location if everyone wasn't wearing a mask, if all of the poll workers. And having the plexiglass shield, similar thing, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, that really helps, I think, confidence on both sides of the equation, right?
Yeah. And the poll workers are kind of split on how comfortable they feel coming back.
And that's gonna evolve between now and Election Day.
Yeah, and that was what Kim told me too. Kim said at the beginning of ramping up
Her
for the
runoff.
runoff, everyone was committed. 2 days before, over half of them were like, I don't feel comfortable coming in.
Wow, that much?
So they bailed? Wow.
I mean, that tells you, it seems like we'd want to overstaff in places and then expect an attrition rate,
That's a good point.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and that's,
Like, yeah.
a lot of the poll workers have said, we're willing to commit now, but if there's
Right.
a spike in
Sure.
October, then they're not willing to
Yeah.
commit. You know, so they're kind of, you know, like, yeah, if it's like it is right now,
Yeah.
they would feel comfortable working.
Right.
But if we see an increase come
Mhm.
October,
Mm.
then they wouldn't feel comfortable
Yeah.
working. So,
Yeah, we're just, as I say, we're in a fog, and it's gonna continue for a while.
Yeah.
Even up to Election Day, perhaps.
And we should think through, and obviously, we don't have to talk about this today, because we've had plenty on the agenda.
Right.
I know you've already thought through, to some degree, Jennifer, what happens if we lose half of our poll workers? What happens if we lose 75% of our poll workers? I mean, I don't think it's a
Yeah.
bad idea to be
Yeah.
prepared for the worst
Right.
case scenario
No.
here.
Yeah,
Just to make sure we have a plan in action, just like any other emergency.
right, right. Have you, speaking of emergencies, have you talked to emergency, management here? Have they?
I've not talked to John in particular about this. I
Okay.
wanted to wait until after our meeting with the Secretary of State's
Mm.
office about supplies before I approached John about
Because
supplies.
he surely thought through some of this
Oh,
already.
yes, I'm sure he has, and he will be a great resource for
Mhm,
us going
mhm.
forward, especially helping us,
Yeah.
with the planning. But, supply-wise, I wanted to see what the Secretary of State's office is planning before I start, checking with John on, okay, well, the Secretary of State can only get us this much, can you help us get this?
Yeah,
You
the
know,
balance.
and so, but I will be, after
Good.
next week, I will
Okay.
start, working with John, kind of trying to figure out
Good.
our best plans for that.
And he may have some insight that, would help a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, are we moving on to absentee voting?
Yeah, so some of this obviously involves Becky, the envelopes and mailing. The governor's office is starting to reach out to the counties. We received a call yesterday, Benton County, most of the counties, bigger counties especially,
Mhm.
are starting to receive a phone call from the governor's office, trying to figure out if the governor is to make any type of announcement or any type of plan, when would be the best date
Mhm.
to make that plan.
Mhm.
And for us, August, if we get anywhere past
later.
August
Mhm.
and some other change is made, regarding absentee ballots, it will hurt, it'll hurt every county, not just, Washington County. Because ballot stock is also, I think, will be a limited,
Yeah.
supply, because every other county and every other state is now looking, how much ballot stock do I have? Right now, and the same thing with the envelopes. Becky mails 3 envelopes for every absentee ballot. And they're specifically made with the different things on it, so she's also looking, how many absentee ballot envelopes do I order? Because you can't just go out to Office Depot and purchase them, the same thing with the ballot stock. And so that's the question, by, July, we need to figure out how much ballot stock to order and how much, for Becky, how much envelopes, and, does she need to order? Right now, currently on hand, I have 2,500 pieces of ballot stock, which we were gonna order more, but I don't need, for projected for back when we didn't have the COVID.
When things were normal?
We would have probably had, 2,000 absentee ballots that went out, which would be 4,000 pieces of paper. So obviously I was gonna order some ballot stock before, the general, but now the question is, how much ballot stock do I order?
Does it go bad?
Ballot stock will not go bad. So we try not to over-order on the ExpressVote ballots because it is thermal paper, but ballot stock is just normal.
How many years does the thermal paper last?
Kim is starting to have problems with her ballot stock, the thermal ExpressVote, that's 3 years old, 3 to 4 years old.
No.
Ours is, we ordered some at the end of 2019 and I ordered some the beginning.
So if we have
Ours is,
extra, it'd be good in 2022.
yeah, the paper ballot stock.
We hope.
Well,
That's just paper, it's just this paper.
Oh, wait, you're talking about, okay.
Thermal,
I'm
the thermal we don't,
mixing the.
she had problems.
Yeah, that's,
her
Years?
thermal,
3 years.
yeah.
that's
2 years
disturbing.
out, which,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we do need to order ballot stock. The question is, how much ballot stock do I order?
I mean, I think prepare for a significant percentage voting absentee. It's better to be prepared for that happening than to be fighting other counties and states to get resources on the back end. And from what I've seen, a couple pretty strong signals from the governor's office that they're considering allowing no excuse absentee voting. I mean, ordering us a 450 with the CARES grant funding, real strong signal, right? Second one, reaching out to the counties and kind of talking about the possibility and when a decision need to be made. I mean, another pretty strong signal. So we don't want to be, you know, behind the curve on preparing and trying to get these supplies. So, you know, what percentage of folks could vote absentee if that's allowed? I have no idea, you know. I mean, Jennifer, I defer to you, because you know the numbers better than I do, quite frankly. But I think we should order enough supplies to plan for any eventuality, to the degree that we have money in the budget and the ability to kind of predict what that eventuality could be, ballpark.
Yeah, and we will be signing a new contract with ES&S.
Oh, that's right.
So I have updated, and I say we, technically it's the county clerk that will be signing the contract. But, so our ballot stock is 10 cents a piece for each paper. So, but we don't pay any setup fee or anything like that. So basically, for us to print a paper ballot, it's 10 cents.
Okay, that includes your toner and...
No, the toner, when I look at the toner cost, ES&S sent me a little plug-in thing. I think the toner cost should be around $2,500 for the toner cost. I plugged in 50,000 pieces of paper, because it's not just, because it'll probably be a two-page ballot. So that would be 25,000 absentee votes. And doing that, it would be about $2,000 for the toner and the drum for the
wear
printer.
and tear on the printer. Do we have a backup?
So ideally, I would, back when we used to order absentee ballots, I always ordered certain ballots already printed from the printer, and I think I will do a mix of how I do the absentee ballots, because obviously Becky has a stack of absentee ballots in her office right now, requests. So I know which precincts those are. Mm-hmm. So I will order ballots from the printer, and I think those are 35 cents a piece from the printer, but it's the wear and tear, so it's kind of, and then we will print on demand after the deadline for absentee ballots, which is in September, and then we'll start printing on demand. But I do feel like to save on that printer, I do feel like it would be prudent for us to order the ballots we know we have requests for from ES&S.
Well, we are limited to a certain printer, correct?
Oh, yes.
And was that supplied by ES&S?
It is. It's a printer from ES&S, and I've talked to them about the printing of the ballots, and of course they're like, you shouldn't have any problems. Of course, he's not saying I'm printing 50,000 ballots in one day.
Exactly, yeah.
That's not going to happen. That's why I think that ideally we would order the ones we know have been requested from the printer, and then we print the ones that start to come in on demand.
Okay.
And that'll save the life of our printer. So
I just don't want the printer to fall apart in the middle of the process.
Good point.
Yes.
We can't afford it if we don't have a backup.
Yes. The other option, and I can ask ES&S how much a second printer would cost, and that might be something we have to do in the middle of it anyway, and order a second printer and have it sent to us.
Yeah.
If it's available.
Right.
Good point.
I'll talk to Bree and see.
It could be available now, but it won't later.
Exactly.
I think it's a great point, Renee, to think about like the critical components, like
Yeah, I mean, when you don't have a backup, you're up a creek pretty quickly if you have one go down.
Or computers.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, good point.
And that's the scary thing about the absentee ballots is there's no, like, you have to print them.
Mhm.
Yep.
Like,
Mhm.
you know, and then you're under a time crunch.
Right.
That's why having, you know, some sort of statement in August lets us know,
Right.
I need this, maybe I should go ahead and look, you know, at another printer. I'll go ahead and ask ES&S to give me a cost on another
Okay,
printer.
yeah.
I don't feel like the printers was that expensive.
I'm thinking they weren't either, but they were, excuse my, opinion here, but I felt like it was a really cheap printer, which is one thing that makes me concerned for its reliability.
Yeah. I will ask,
Buy another one. We've got the money in the budget. Let's do it. Because in August, I worry about trying to order extra things in
Yeah.
August.
Yeah.
You know, if the decision is that late. Like we've said, everybody's gonna be wanting this
At the
thing.
same time, yeah.
yeah. Okay, I'll go ahead and I'll talk to ES&S about getting a
Yeah,
quote
get a code.
for a second printer,
Yeah.
to see how much that is.
But you wanna be aware that there's very little or no budgeting in the budget for what we're talking about here at this table today.
Mm,
We didn't anticipate any of this at budget time.
yeah.
It's true. We
So
didn't.
we may have to go back to the well, or as I had in my conversation with Jennifer was that, you know, if the state is going to mandate certain things, they're gonna have to help.
That's right,
Like they're
yeah.
doing with the 450s, and just like they did with the balance of voting equipment for the 9 counties that did have
Right,
funding just
Right.
recently, you know.
yeah.
So the state, if we're looking at these kind of additional expenses, how many counties can just go back to their budget and say, we need another $50,000?
They can't,
So
especially with the economy.
we know that we didn't budget for these items
Right.
when we budgeted.
It's a great point, Bill, and you're right. The more we can get the state to pay for now on the front end that we don't have to worry about, the better. And I mean, you know, I know we can't just move money around in the budget, but if we have less costs on poll workers, perhaps we could make a request to
Right.
use some of that money. I'm not saying that we're going to, but it
No.
seems like it's a possibility. And we don't wanna shortchange ourselves anywhere, and you're right, we may have to go back to the well and request some additional money for.
And I think that's yet to be determined, but
Right,
nevertheless,
right.
we need to be aware of it. That, you know, that's just the way it is.
When you
Yep.
talk to the SOS next week, I noticed on this, funding deadline, it says the deadline to disperse all federal funds is December the 31st.
Yeah, I
Which
noticed that.
We may be, liable for all this up front without any assurance that we are reimbursed for it by December the 31st. So,
That was my question, was, like, so for instance, when we do the primary, we pay for it all
Right,
up front,
right.
and then I seek a reimbursement from the state, and they give us that money back, and it goes, but now this money will go back into the general fund.
Yes.
Doesn't come back to our budget.
right.
That is my question to the state, are we responsible for
Mhm,
purchasing this all up front, and then you reimburse us? And that gets to the point of then the counties are competing against one another to purchase these materials. So I think that what Craighead County did was smart, is here's everything I need, and here's the cost of it.
Mhm.
So I need you to purchase that for me, or cut me a check
Right.
for $20,000 and let me purchase it on my own. And that's what the other counties agreed to. We need to know how the money's going to be spent, because
And when?
can't be waiting,
Yeah.
can't wait.
Right.
And we need reassurances that if I ask for 100 masks, the state is going to give me 100 masks and not 50 masks, and then I have to try and source
Yep.
Right.
50
Right.
on my own. So I think the other counties are definitely in agreement on that as well, is how is the state going to to do the funding. And, you know, when I talked to Craighead County the other day, she figured it out. She had done the math, and each county should get $74,000. I don't know if that's right or not, but that was the number she had.
So there's an
I'd
exact
come up with.
figure that somebody knows
Kinda get-
has come to us.
Yeah, I know.
Well, and that's what
Makes
she,
sense.
and that's what she said too. She said, obviously, Craighead County wouldn't need that much
Right,
money.
right.
So I don't know how the state will distribute the funds.
I don't think they know according to this.
More money than Greene County, it's bigger, you know, it's
Right,
based
right,
on
yeah,
population
right,
need,
Right?
right?
Yeah.
Voters.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think her point was there should be enough money for each county to get the funds. Because even if the state gave us $74,000, that should be sufficient for the different things. You know, if that was the dollar amount
Right.
that you were to be given.
Right.
So,
Yes, from my perspective, advice to you, Jennifer, in these conversations you're having with the decision makers, protect the county
At all,
at
yeah,
all costs.
yeah.
yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep,
Then we'll go from there.
We can deal with it later, yeah.
I agree.
Because we don't want to go back to
No,
our county for more budgeting when
No.
we haven't done our due diligence
Right.
on the front end and press them.
I agree.
Yeah.
Don't ask for masks for half of the poll workers, ask for all of them plus more.
Exactly.
Because you know you're gonna have problems with distribution and losing them, and you want extras, and,
Well, and I even figured out during early vote, based on the number of voters that would work each shift, because we do
right,
dual shifts
right.
versus the days, how many we would need for early vote. Because you can't just say, oh, you have 300 poll workers, you need 300 masks.
Right.
No.
That doesn't
I
quite do it.
need a mask for every day of early
Yeah.
vote, and we run 2 shifts, so I need 2 masks for the 10 hours. And so I figured that out for early vote and all of that, so.
plus some are gonna break, and then someone's gonna go get an extra one, and
Yeah.
you get too early vote,
Right.
election day, you don't have enough, right?
Right,
Well-
You can envision different scenarios.
And one of the supervisors was saying, okay, if we eat lunch and we have one of those disposable masks, well, then I need a new mask
Right.
after I come back for lunch because I've touched it and I've handled it and I've
Sure.
taken it off to eat lunch. So there were a lot of things. The supervisors were really wonderful to get feedback to me, just on certain practical. I hadn't thought about the eating lunch
Yeah.
kind of thing, you know? So I do think we have to be very specific in the amount
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
of things we ask for.
Logistics.
Yeah.
Hand sanitizer, are we gonna have a big thing where a voter can get a pump on their way out?
So one of the things that would be nice, but I've also seen, and I'm gonna try and source and see how much that is, the kind that you don't, the
No
poll workers-
touchy.
the no touch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's definitely an expense, or definitely something that we need. The cleaning supplies, there's a little thing in there from ES&S about how to
Right.
clean the equipment. I honestly think our best option for cleaning the equipment in some ways is just the alcohol wipes.
Mhm.
The others, those super sandy cloths, I think they'll be expensive, but they're so hard on your hands. And so if a poll
Oh,
worker is
yeah.
having to clean the screen after every voter, I think it could be difficult. So
Yeah.
alcohol wipes, I think, will be the best bet. But yeah, all of that. So I'll put together a list of all of that and the amounts we would need, because that's based on every voter that comes in. If I have 1,500 voters, that's cleaning 2 pieces of equipment, the tablet
yeah.
and the ExpressVote. So,
I know that, I don't know if you guys have tried it, I know some folks are getting the hand sanitizer stuff from Fox Trail Distillery up in Benton County.
Oh, I hadn't heard of it.
Yeah, I think they're making it, so, I don't know, to the degree that we could source it locally and it was
Yeah.
comparable cost.
Yes.
For the local company, it might be worth looking into.
Yeah, and there's a firm in Fort Smith that's doing it now, converted their manufacturing
Oh,
plant over to
See that.
that.
Good.
Really a massive production, so there's some local.
that's
Yeah,
good.
yeah, if we
Now,
can go local,
we
we
have to
should.
be careful with the sanitizer. Benton County found this out during the runoff election. If the voter or poll worker sanitizes at any point when they are touching the ExpressVote ballot, it messes with the thermal paper.
Oh, yeah.
So we have to make that the sanitizer on the exit route, and it can't be used at any time before then, just because of the thermal paper. They noticed that that was an issue too, just to be aware of. So.
Wow.
And it's so much.
Well, I'm just thinking, because people generally are going to, the cleaning has been so ingrained at this point that I'm concerned about any voter touching the ballot, not, give me a term here. What's the term for
the ExpressVote
the
ballot?
ExpressVote, okay, call it that. Because if sanitizer can affect it, different kinds of lotion or something can also, I used to carry a little lotion in my pocket.
I think
or
we
whatever.
Have to be careful of where we provide the sanitizer, where we're providing it, because, you know.
The exit door.
Yeah.
And warn people, don't touch the ballot in.
Unnecessarily. I mean, just hold it in your hand.
Exactly, and don't move your fingers over it or whatever. Okay, well, that's my concern. All right, where were we? Absentee voting. We've talked about, we've kind of hit the whole thing, haven't we? We're just going to have to see how this goes down the road. Early vote and election day voting, space needs.
So I gave you a list of priority polling locations, ones that, I mean, ideally will all be open.
Right.
But based on different, you know, things that may come up, there's a list of the ones that would be required to be open, and then our second priority, third priority, and fourth priority. And obviously, that doesn't mean that some of the rural polling places aren't important, but when we're talking about poll workers, how many poll workers do I have, size, and then what's required by law.
For the distancing.
I had to set up a priority list, and we have to have one open in each city. And then in Fayetteville and Springdale, we have to have open one in each ward. So that's why I've got the first priority. Those are the ones that we don't have really a choice on. And then we'll work through the rest of them depending on poll workers that we have and space. Obviously, some of these might be exchangeable because, for instance, what if one church doesn't let us have it open? We would have to look for another one. So, and then I've made some notes in there, especially like, for instance, Goshen. Very small site, even though we've moved sites. Just setting up 2 tables for check-in 6 feet apart will be difficult for us, which would mean we could only set up 1 check-in table, and then we would be limited with the number of express votes that we would set up. Is it Georgia or Alabama, or one of the states is getting ready to have an election next week, June 7th, or in a couple of weeks. And that was one of the things they talked about, was social distancing wise has limited the amount of equipment they can have in each location. So some of these places, even though we have to have them open, we will be limited in the amount of equipment we can have in that location because of the space. And Johnson definitely is another one where we're limited space-wise, at least definitely for the check-in.
At this point, the law is that we have to have those open.
So I think that if the state were to see that most counties were having difficulties keeping polling locations open and finding poll workers, I think an executive order could be made, just like the governor did for the runoff election, to allow major consolidation of polling locations.
I think it's fair to tell the governor's legal counsel, whoever contacted you the other day, about that issue and about that concern, and let them know that the earlier, even before August, we could make those kind of decisions, the better. Because if a place is too small, it's too small,
What can you do? Build on.
You can't do it, and if the law makes us do it, that's a problem,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And they may not be aware of that fully, with the list of things, so I think it's fair to let them know.
Yeah.
As little as Little Rock knows about voting. Excuse my French.
Put your mask on, Bill.
Is that the same as Joe Jaws, boy?
No, you're certainly allowed to have an opinion.
Fair.
Well,
But
you're right.
we're also in this weird place too. If absentee voting goes up, then
Right,
the needs
right.
for election day voting goes down, in theory.
Yeah.
And then you throw early vote in there as well.
Mhm.
So that's another discussion to have too, is do we try and expand early voting where we can expand early voting if we can?
The more we can space people out in terms of distance, but also time,
Right,
better, it seems like, right?
Right.
you would think.
You would think.
So we have two of our early vote sites that will cause us an issue, Boys and Girls Club and Medical Arts. Spacing is an issue, the courthouse here.
Yeah,
Spacing is
yeah.
an issue too. So there's some other things we'll need to look at in regards to early vote. We can still keep those places open, we just won't be able to have as much machines.
For Boys and Girls Club, it could depend on whether their programming is ongoing, right? Because
Yeah.
if they're not having the same sort of programming and they'd be willing to let us have a big room,
Yeah.
that'd be ideal.
Have we gotten any, signal from, like, the schools about what they're doing in the fall?
No. I know,
Does
I got an
anybody-
email from because of Eli being at Fate
Oh,
High,
right, yeah.
that, they haven't made any
They
decisions
just don't know yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's another, so early vote, when we meet again, I'll have a list of we know our early vote sites, but ones that will cause us issues with spacing, some alternatives.
Yeah.
Boys and Girls Club, if we could be in their gymnasium, like if they're not having programming,
Yep.
would be a great space for us to be in.
Reach out to them now and just tell
Yeah.
them that, look, this is a big deal for us,
Right.
because it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See if they'd be willing to make that commitment to us.
Right. So, we'll start reaching out to all the different places, like Farmington Church, I've already heard from. They're willing to let us they still want us,
Good,
so
good.
some of the
Cool.
places are still willing to have us, in their locations. And so, but that's definitely conversations we'll start to have with all of the polling locations. The thing that we have to be aware of is they may give us a verbal commitment today that they're willing to do it, but if we see a spike in increase,
Kind of like the poll workers.
we could expect to see maybe some places might
Yeah.
not feel comfortable with us being there. So I do think that that's a possibility we have to be aware of as
Right,
well.
right.
Hey, I think it's fair to let the governor's office know that too.
So, yeah.
Okay, well, we don't really know a lot about this now, but it will begin to, materialize, at least clearing up some as time goes on. So, election calendar, what do we got there?
That's just basically the dates we do know, for the general election.
Okay,
I did hear from, the city of Springdale, they have certified for
Uh-huh.
Bethel Heights. They have certified their, signatures. I don't know if the city of Bethel Heights have certified theirs. The city of Springdale would like to hold the election in August. And so we'll have to see how that materializes.
What needs to be done?
Well, this is that weird election.
Yeah.
Where,
But what does Bethel Heights need to do to get that going?
Bethel Heights only has to certify the signatures. So I went back and looked at it again, and the larger city is the one that passes the resolution calling for it. And Springdale will have it on their agenda next Tuesday, I believe.
Okay.
You may know more about that than I do, Tom. But Bethel Heights, I don't know that they've certified the signatures yet for Bethel Heights. I doubt that they have.
They have to do that by to hit August. What date do they have to do it by?
So our deadline to hold an election in August is June the 12th.
So they gotta certify those signatures.
Less than a month.
Yeah. So they have to have those signatures certified, and the city council has to pass the resolution. Now, if the city council, the Springdale City Council meets on the 26th, and then they would meet June 9th.
Oh,
I
okay.
think,
So they could still do it.
They would have time. So, it just depends on when, but Bethel Heights, I think, only has 50 signatures to certify. It's not like it's a
Oh, wow.
huge number that they have to certify, but the question is, will they
Yeah, will they get it
have them
done?
certified?
There's no interest from them in holding it in November.
So, here's the question to be asked between the city and the county. So, the way this reads is, the council shall pass an ordinance, the council shall pass an ordinance basically asking for the election. And then it says the county court shall call the special election,
Court.
which is the county judge.
Okay.
Yeah. So then it says that the judge actually calls for the election.
Oh.
So the question is, what date would could the judge call for it for a different date? The city is obviously, the city's preference is August.
Are we talking about like the 11th?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, the city's preference is August.
Okay.
You know, it could be held with the general election as well.
I mean, you're talking just in terms of planning, if we're having an election in August, you need all the supplies and everything else
By then.
by August, and you need all the procedures in place and concrete, well before then, and
Yeah,
trainings could have occurred, and just a lot of pieces that need to happen.
Right.
Before August, if it's gonna be then.
Yeah.
Factor all that into your planning of purchases as well.
Yep.
We would need 4 polling locations open for the election. There's a part in here, at least this is the way I read it, it says the court shall appoint 1 judge and 1 clerk in each ward, which would make me think that there would need to be a polling location in each ward. So that would be 4
Got it.
polling locations.
For what, 100 votes?
And the cost of that election is fully reimbursed.
For the city would pay for the cost of that.
Including all the supplies we have.
It would depend on I think, only thing in my mind that would not be reimbursable is the plexiglass.
Yeah.
Everything else,
It's permanent cost.
yeah, everything else would be because it's disposable.
Sure.
I mean, it's intended for the use of that election.
That makes
So
sense.
all of those costs, yes, would be disposable.
Got it.
Okay, well, we're all dependent on Springdale and Bethel Heights to figure it out.
That, and then the 2 judges, Benton and,
Oh, right, because it's both of them.
right, because Springdale is in Benton County too.
Yeah.
So, and I think, let's see. I'm not sure she has to have one open in Bethel Heights, but yeah, because part of Springdale is in Benton County's involved as well. And so, yeah.
Huh, okay. Okay, well, there's a lot to do there. Other business. or do you have other items on the election calendar?
No, that one is not on this calendar that I sent you.
Okay. I mean, because it's not definite
It's
yet.
not definite yet.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I've got and I think I sent them to you in an email, the proposed date.
Mm-hmm.
August 21st would be our proposed date for a ballot draw, and I have to let the party chairs know. So I need to know if that date is acceptable for the commission to do our ballot draw.
Okay.
Then it has to be,
There's no conflict of the commission in any regard to that date, is there?
That's what I'm asking. Does anyone know that they'll be gone on that day? If not, I'll proceed
I would
with
go
that
ahead
date,
with it.
as for the ballot draw.
You got that, okay?
I think so. Can you send me
Yeah.
I'll
an
send you
email
out the calendar
and just,
again.
yeah, and specify that one, and I can look real quick.
Okay,
I think it's okay, though.
Okay.
so, the other dates are kind of flexible, but that one is one where we have a deadline, but I also have to publish it, and I also have to let the party chairs know.
How are we gonna do it? Well, not that we have to get into it, but if you're gonna send a letter, you may wanna like procedurally.
Yes, so I have always in the past sent a letter to every candidate of the date of the ballot draw. I think that's one reason why we always have people actually
Right,
show up for the
right.
ballot draw. Ideally, we'll have it in the quorum courtroom, but if we're still social distancing,
We will be.
it will be a totally different setup for how we do the
Right.
ballot draw. It may be that we have to let the candidates, kind of how we did this meeting today, let the candidates sign on virtually, and the commission actually does the drawing for all the candidates, because I don't know how many people we could have
Yeah.
in a room,
Right.
because it's a lot. All the municipal candidates, a lot of them
Right.
tend to come. The local, we've got almost every JP race contested, and most of the state reps
Right.
are contested as well. So there's a lot of local candidates that might show up for the ballot draw.
Nice.
So we do need to kind of think about how we would do a ballot draw virtually, essentially for the
Okay.
candidates. So, yeah.
I mean, what do you guys think about it?
I don't think it'd be difficult. I mean, like she said, I think the commission would be here, and if we wanted to have one neutral person stand there and draw the numbers for us or whatever, I don't see anything wrong with that.
I think we need to get one of those little lottery machines
Be
to,
fine. Or a little basket.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe an announcer, you know?
An MC, how about Tom?
I like that. But I mean, I agree, there's no requirement that
Yeah.
a candidate is allowed to draw. It's a cool thing we've done, but there's no,
It's
you know, this times have changed, you know,
Yeah.
we have this.
It's a respectful way to give them some due, but it's not,
It's not critical.
no.
We can't,
We can handle it internally.
yeah, and like, I mean, we could have a neutral person, like you said, Bill. I don't need
Yeah.
to draw, you
Yeah.
know, we'll just watch somebody draw. And
Right,
we'll
right.
just make sure it's, you know. I
Yeah,
think
think through that.
I will, I mean, because we have to have a public meeting to do
Right.
it, but that doesn't mean that the public participates.
Everybody has to be there,
Oh.
It
yeah.
just means that we are doing it in front of the public,
Right.
so, yeah.
Do
If
you,
you wanna Zoom it, you can.
yeah, exactly. I think we should do that and Zoom it. And just like you said, can you go ahead and, I mean, do you need anything else from us? I'm just trying to think about, you could knock this out and tell them, hey, this is how it's gonna be, and
Yeah.
then it's one less thing to work about.
True.
I'll have to work with Lisa on setting it
All
up.
right, there we
and
go.
We'll have to figure out, if it's a meeting like this, holding it in here will be fine.
Yeah.
If we're not allowing the public to come,
Oh,
we don't
good
have to worry
point.
about, we normally hold it in the
Yeah.
courtroom.
Right.
But if we're doing it completely virtually, we can just do it like we've done it here today.
Okay, question, Lisa. Do you know how many people, have, as far as today's concerned, have, dialed in?
0.
Okay, so you do have the ability to decide
Yeah.
who's
We
there?
did have a couple of viewers on YouTube, but I think one of them was me.
Oh.
Susan Cunningham
Maybe
might have,
me.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, well, that, I mean, that
But
just,
an event like that, it would be a lot more.
Mhm.
Yeah. And what we
Okay.
have up is like 100 attendees.
Oh, wow,
Okay.
okay. And people can check in and check out at their leisure, right? Okay, yeah.
I mean, if we could do it in the boardroom, that'd be ideal, anyway, right?
It's a more,
Yeah, exactly.
formal
That's what I'm thinking.
event that I think would probably, deserve it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And hopefully the judges should be back in there and shouldn't have, Julie was telling me at least until the end of June.
They're
They
gonna
have
be
the
out.
they have the quorum court tied
Oh,
up
gotcha.
with the judges.
Yeah, all the judges in Washington County issued an order that they have the option, a party can request to have something done in person, and I think the judge can kind of decide, but all the Washington County judges said Zoom virtual hearings and appearances is their standard protocol now, unless the party requests otherwise.
Okay,
I imagine the Supreme Court will keep giving them the leeway, whether
Yeah.
they want to do it virtually or in person
Yeah.
or not. Yeah. So anyway, could be open, but I guess it could be not.
Yeah.
That's the form you needed signed for the reimbursement.
it's right there.
Oh, no, we already signed that. You're talking about that one?
Well, this
This
one's
is
you.
for, yeah, Max needs to
Oh,
sign that.
yeah, got
But
it.
the reimbursement
One.
one is there.
Yeah. Sir?
Okay,
Okay. Other business, any other business?
Nope.
Do we want to?
Name another meeting?
Yeah, because since I'm assuming coordinate with Lisa on that.
I kind of feel like we might want to do something after you talk to the Secretary of State's office.
Okay.
Would y'all agree?
The sooner we can finalize some of this stuff and,
Right,
the better.
Get ahead.
right.
I agree.
What would be a good time for you?
So we're meeting on the 27th, I believe, Wednesday,
Of,
May,
of May with the Secretary of State. So,
28th or 29th?
I think it works. I didn't bring my
does
calendar.
that work for you?
Got it.
Do you
Next,
know?
it's basically next Thursday or Friday.
I think I'm open. Either day. But send me an email if you don't mind. It's
Okay.
confirmed this morning.
Okay, so the 28th at 9, ideally, unless there's something,
That works for me.
okay.
on the 28th at 9.
Yeah. Let's try to plan on it if that works out for you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think it should.
I can make it work this far out.
Oh, good, okay.
Postpone a day of fishing.
Ow.
Oh, we don't want to do that.
100 days fishing, right?
Ah. Well, we're sorry you can, no, I guess on fishing, you're supposed to get an early start, aren't you?
Yeah. I'm
Well,
late.
9 o'clock or after that is too late for you, huh?
Yeah.
Now,
Okay.
I do suspect, though, that the Secretary of State office won't give us any definite.
They're not.
You know what I mean?
You wanna wait a week?
Well, that's what I was wondering. Even if we meet the day after, I doubt at that meeting that the Secretary of State's office is gonna be like, oh, yeah, we agree with everything you say, and we're gonna,
Yeah.
so.
Will you give us a summary, will you email us
Yeah,
a summary of what
yeah.
they
So
tell you?
I was wondering, maybe if we don't wanna maybe do like June 4th or
Yeah,
June
let's
3rd
do
or
that.
something like that, because like I said, otherwise I think we'll just be coming in here and I'll be
It'd be
giving
a
you a
waste of time.
summary
Yeah.
of what we did, then I can just email a summary if
All
that
right,
would.
well, let's do it June 4th then.
Okay,
And maybe in the interim, you can follow up with them and get some semi-definitive answers
right, because I feel like they're gonna have to discuss
between themselves. yeah.
amongst themselves after
Yeah.
they get off the phone with us about that. And it depends too on, like you said, do they even have all the funds
Mm-hmm.
on when they could commit to purchasing everything?
I think if they don't, either way, we need to make an order fairly,
Gotta get on it,
fairly quickly,
yeah,
I think.
yeah, I agree.
And if we can figure out what the other counties need and tell the Secretary of State's office, hey, we need this, either we need you to order it, or we're gonna order it.
Right,
Ask for-
and we're gonna send you the bill.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, the sooner we do that stuff, the better.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, other business? None? We're adjourned.
All right. Bill, how are you and Bootsy doing?